Good morning and afternoon, or whenever you are listening to us. It's the FTN Network Schatz and Tanier NFL podcast for Thursday, November 30th, 2023. Hello, welcome to the live stream. If you're watching live, remember we're here on YouTube at 11 a.m. every Monday and Thursday talking about the NFL and other important football things, like how the head coach of a 4-8 college football team can be named Sportsman of the Year by What's Left of Sports Illustrated.
Well, this wasn't Bobby Petrino. That'll be next year's Sportsman of the Year.
The really important stuff. No, actually, it's a good week 13 of games, and there's some big ones. And we will get to the 49ers and the Eagles, which is the biggest game of the week, in a little bit. How's that for priming the pump for later? But first, let's start with Thursday night, which is the 6-5 Seahawks at the 8-3 Cowboys. The Cowboys are essentially in the playoffs. They're fourth in DVOA. Seahawks, 69% of the time with a win, they get into the playoffs. 32% of the time with a loss. They are 17th in DVOA. And they have some injury issues. Geno Smith has had elbow issues, although Pete Carroll came out and said apparently he looks much better in practice this week. I don't know what that really can you believe that? I don't know. Tyler Lockett has a lingering hamstring injury. Kenneth Walker, I think, is going to be out for this game, but at least the Seahawks will be wearing throwbacks.
They'll probably look awesome in their throwbacks. And the other question is, I don't know who their right tackle is. I'm not.
Abraham Lucas is not healthy?
I last week they were kind of bouncing between Forsythe and Jason Peters.
Oh, right. Who's 9,000 years old?
Who's 9,000 years old, and a couple of plays into the game, suddenly got one of those injuries that we've been seeing since Philly circa like 2019, where like, oh, I can't go over the rest of this game. So big problem, of course, when you're facing the Cowboys pass rush.
Yeah, which is good. I don't know if you've heard of this Dexter Lawrence guy. He's the only person I know on that pass rush. I don't know anyone else.
DeMarcus.
Dak Prescott has been the best quarterback in the league since week 6.
Wow.
I think a lot of people are talking about this. This week, it seems like everyone noticed.
Yes.
Wow, Dak Prescott has been really good for the last few weeks. Like there's been some like Dak Prescott MVP talk and a lot of stats going on about how Dak Prescott has been. And I ran DVOA since week 6 for the purposes of discussing the Denver Broncos, and we'll get to them in a little bit. But when I ran that, the number 2 team in DVOA since week 6, overall DVOA, is the Dallas Cowboys.
I take it the 49ers loss was week 5?
The 49ers losses were weeks 6, 7, and 8, I believe. So,
no, I mean the Cowboys lost to
the Cowboys lost to the 49ers. I think, it was week 5.
Yeah. Right. And again, I'm not going to be like this Dak hater or anything weird like that, but it's amazing how you become an MVP candidate after you've played the Panthers, Commanders, and Giants. I mean,
that does help, but I mean, even when you adjust for opponent, he's been right. I mean, listen, that's the criticism of the Cowboys, right? Which is the criticism of the Cowboys is I can adjust for opponent all I want.
Right.
But the Cowboys are special in their ability to play great against bad teams and not play great against good teams.
Right.
More than even what opponent adjustments would normally adjust for. That's sort of the argument.
Right. And if that was a 1-year thing, it'd be like, go away. That's not statistically valid, but the Cowboys have had this reputation for a while.
Right. Prescott is near the top of the league on deep passes.
Wow. Okay.
The Seahawks defense is 7th against deep passes, though, but they're 25th against short passes.
Right. I feel like they can adjust. I feel like I can adjust.
and Geno Smith, the big difference between this year and last year has been deep passes, right? Last year, Geno Smith was one of the best quarterbacks in the league on deep passes, especially early in the season.
Okay.
Then that slowed down in the second half of the season, and the slowdown has rolled over to this year. Geno Smith is 21st in DVOA on deep passes.
Okay.
Right? Short passes, basically the same as last year. Running, basically the same as last year. It's the deep passes. That's the big difference between last year's Seahawks, that and the red zone, between last year's Seahawks offense and this year's Seahawks offense. I will point out the Cowboys are only 13th against deep passes, but they're number 1 against short passes.
Right. Number 1 against short passes. And the reminder that when you sack the quarterback, That might have been a deep pass attempt, but you can't put that in.
Right. I mean, that's the thing, right, about deep passes, that it doesn't include deep passes and short passes doesn't include sacks. So, and doesn't include throwaways. So it doesn't, those two things, which are pass pressured, are not being measured. The Cowboys, it was interesting. The Seahawks, the red zone problems, the Cowboys are only 28th in red zone defense.
Interesting.
Their defense, which has been third in the league overall, is very weak in the red zone. So perhaps this is the week that the Seahawks score some actual touchdowns. I just don't think it's going to be enough to beat with the actual touchdowns that the Cowboys are going to.
You're starting to talk me into Seahawks +9.
Well, I will tell you, the system likes Seahawks +9 slightly, but I will say subjectively, given how the Cowboys have played in recent weeks and what the Seahawks injury questions are, I would go with Cowboys -9.
Now, I'm going to say this. The Cowboys offense is 8th in DVOA in the first halves of games. The Seahawks offense is 12th in DVOA in the first half. Their problems go as the game goes on. I'm looking at a first half over 23.5 tonight. Bet it, win it, go to bed, and not worry about the backdoor cover or things like that.
You do like the first half overs and the first quarter overs, I know, yeah.
Yeah, I love it, especially on Thursday night. It's okay, I'm done. I can go away now. I don't have to worry about the dumb stuff that happens at the end of a field goal at 11:30 on Thursday
I don't know what to think about the incredible record this year for unders in primetime games.
Yes. Because
there's nothing about primetime games that should cause unders. Thursday, maybe Thursday. There's nothing about Sunday night or Monday night that should cause unders.
Jets.
It's about the team. You're saying it's about which teams have been put on Sunday and Monday night.
Particularly, yes. So the Jets have played 4 or 5 night games this year, and that's enough to cause a blip in the radar when every one of their games is probably going under.
Well, Aaron Rodgers will be back soon, so that'll solve that problem.
Don't start me.
All right. So, you like the first half over, but we're both on Cowboys.
We're on Cowboys. Yes. I might try to tease it around a little bit.
Cowboys -9. Again, if you're watching live, don't forget we'll take your questions and comments on any game. We are going in sort of time order here, so let's start with the biggest 1 p.m. game, which is the 6-5 Broncos at the 6-5 Texans. This is by far the most important game for playoff odds, by tons. The Broncos make the playoffs in 51% of sims if they win and 12% if they lose.
Wow.
The Texans make it in 63% if they win and 26% if they lose.
Wow.
So this is very close to a must win for both teams, but especially for Denver. And I just mentioned that I ran since week 6, which was when Denver lost to Kansas City, but kept the score down. Okay. They kept the score down, right? That was the week their defense turned around.
Right.
Since week 6, the Broncos rank 8th overall.
Wow.
And 12th on defense.
Wow.
And they have been better than the Texans since week 6. Better overall because their defense has been a lot better than the Texans' defense has been since week 6. And because the Texans' offense is just Stroud. They have no running game.
Speaking of just Stroud, the Texans injury report as of Wednesday. Tank Dell, Robert Woods, Noah Brown, all did not play. Laramie Tunsil and Noah Fant. Fant did not practice.
Didn't practice.
And Tyus Howard is out, the left guard.
Isn't he the right tackle, Tyus Howard?
Oh my goodness! Why do I think he was at guard this year? Anyway,
They've moved him around some, but he is an important offensive lineman for them.
He's an important offensive lineman. You could see his absence when he was out of the game. He was playing right tackle. He did play a little guard earlier this year. Yeah, so that's a lot of injuries. As your 3 starting receivers, your 3 starting offensive linemen, all on the injured list. I mean, some of them might play. This is a big problem for Stroud and the Texans.
When the Texans are on defense, here's a good split. They need to blitz Russell Wilson.
Okay.
He is the same with and without a blitz.
Okay.
But the Texans defense, 7 yards a play, 20% DVOA without a blitz.
Right.
6.2 yards per play, minus 13% DVOA with a blitz.
Right. Wow.
So that suggests that they are better when they bring extra pressure.
Okay.
And the Broncos offense is better when the opponent is in nickel. So they want to spread out the Texans, and then the Texans want to bring extra pressure. So that is the matchup when the Broncos are on offense and the Texans are on defense.
I'm fascinated by the fact that the Broncos, the DVOA really does, support the Broncos not being a mirage. One thing I looked at, like their turnover differential in the last 14 games was 16-3.
Yeah, that's a little unsustainable, right? But the new version of DVOA does give less credit for turnovers than the old version did.
Okay. So. That's good, because I had a feeling there was more there than just, and they're facing third-string quarterbacks, and these third-string quarterbacks are turning the ball over. It seemed like there was more than that.
Well, this is not a third-string quarterback, at least. I mean, Stroud is a test.
Yes.
I'm on board the Stroud as MVP candidate. I'm riding. I guess I'm riding in the back seat of the bandwagon because I don't think he's the MVP, but I do think right now I think I would put him in the top 5.
Okay.
But I don't think I would vote him number 1.
I think that's where he's going to land in a lot of people
on a lot of ballots.
Right.
I'm sure I'm not the only person who feels like get him on there, but don't put him number 1.
He is plus 2,000 on the MVP race.
Yeah.
And I know you're dying to hear the Offensive Rookie of the Year race. Minus 10,000.
Sorry, Puka Nacua. So
it
was good. It was a good first couple of weeks for Puka Nacua, though.
Yeah. Bet $100 on Stroud, win $1. I like
Texans minus 3.5 in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Total of 47.
I am waiting for an injury report, and I need to see. I'm going to say 2 of those receivers healthy and Tunsil healthy, and then I go Texans.
I'm going Broncos.
All right,
especially with the 3.5.
Okay, I say it
right because then Texans can win by 2. Texans can win by 3 at home. Broncos still cover. So I like Broncos plus 3.5 in this.
And then you don't have to worry about the injury report. You can just roll there.
Next 1 p.m. game to discuss is the 8-3 Lions at the 5-6 Saints. This is the week of interesting 5-6 still playoff results teams. Ooh, there's a good question, but we'll get to that when we get to the 49ers.
Oh, okay.
Lions make the playoffs 99% of time if they win and 95% if they lose. Saints 74% if they win, 46% if they lose. Despite the fact that the Falcons are not, the Falcons are now leading the NFC South by tiebreakers. We still have the Saints as the team that is most likely to win the division. And talking about those since week 6 stats, the Lions are only 13th in DVOA since week 6 because of a big defensive decline. The 2 teams that have declined the most, 3 teams, I guess, that have declined the most in DVOA, if you look at just since week 6, are Buffalo, Arizona, and Detroit.
Wow. Trending in the wrong direction,
especially on defense. Really good matchup in this game. You will not believe what I'm about to tell you.
Okay.
Jared Goff is number 1 in the league in DVOA on deep passes of 16 or more air yards.
I do not believe that. I was just looking at the passing stats myself, and Stroud looks amazing.
Stroud is near the top. Yeah, Stroud is near the top.
And Purdy is up there.
The Saints are number 1 in defense against deep passes.
But Lattimore was in that for a
long time.
Right. I got one that'll blow your mind here.
Okay, hit me.
The teams that have the most 40-plus yard passing plays on offense. There's 2 teams with 9 passing plays of 40-plus yards. Who are they?
Detroit and Houston.
Incorrect. Houston leads the league in 20-plus yard plays. The Saints and the Titans.
The Saints and the that if that's not a good example that 40 or more yards is random, I don't know what is.
Right.
FJ Brackman wants to know, should Dennis Allen be on the hot seat?
Yeah.
I don't. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what more Dennis Allen was supposed to do with this roster. But at the same time, I don't know a really good argument for keeping him.
Mickey Loomis should be on the hot seat.
Yes.
But the next GM comes in and looks at that spreadsheet, and you can hear the tires screech on the way out because they don't want to have to fix that cap mess. And Loomis is pretty clever about like solving each year's problem a little bit. But you look at that offense, especially in the first half of the year, Derek Carr and Olave and Shaheed and everybody, that should have been better. Now you can call that the coordinator, but
Right. See, Allen's a defensive related head coach, right? So I feel like their defense is good. So Allen's doing, and I don't feel like they're a badly mismanaged team, but they're also not a great managed team.
Right.
Like if I said to you, which head coaches are best on fourth down, Dennis Allen is not on that list.
No.
If I said to you, which head coaches do you feel are best on locker room management and player motivation?
See,
Dennis Allen is not on that list.
Right. And we don't know much because there's not a lot that comes out of it.
Like, what exactly are the things that you're like, that's what Dennis Allen does well?
And we can talk about his defense. Look at the schedule. I mean, you know the schedule because we did the schedule in the preseason and everything. It's like you're shutting down the Patriots. You're shutting down the Bears.
I don't feel like anybody's like, Dennis Allen is a great defensive schemer.
Right.
So it's not, there's no good argument to fire Dennis Allen on the hot seat, but there's no good argument to keep Dennis Allen. There's a good argument with the Saints to stop trying to push the salary cap into the future and get in a new GM, which probably means a new head coach, and start over. Just start over.
Right. I could see Allen surviving Black Friday because everyone's like, oh, these 8 coaches got fired, and the Saints saying, well, we're not going to get the good coach in this cycle, so why are we doing this?
The Saints here's 2 more regarding props. Saints are 7th against number 1 wide receivers, allowing only 51 yards per game.
Mm-hmm.
And they are number 1 against running backs as receivers.
Interesting.
So there may be a good Amon-Ra St. Brown under.
Okay.
And there may be a good Jahmyr Gibbs receiving yards under.
Interesting. I don't like playing those kind of unders, but there's probably meat on the bone there.
Yeah, they're less fun. Rooting against guys it's more fun to root for guys to get catches than to root against.
I'm rooting against Jahmyr Gibbs to do things today. Like, why? Why are you doing this to this young man? Yeah. The injury notes for the Saints: Rashid Shaheed, hamstring, very unlikely to play. Chris Olave in concussion protocol, and
so they may be out. They may be to their 4th receiver.
Yeah, Lynn Bowden and the fellow by the name of Kirkwood. And again, this is all
he's been around there for a couple of years. He's an on and off the practice squad guy. Yep.
Yeah, that's all their deep capability. All their deep capability could be off the table.
So the line is Lions -4, and your injury report definitely has me thinking Lions -4.
Yeah. I think that's straightforward. And even if we hear these guys are going to have miraculous recoveries, I still like that.
All right, let's talk about the big one. 8-3 49ers at the 10-1 Eagles at 4 p.m. The most important game for Super Bowl odds, and especially for the NFC's number 1 seed.
Yeah.
The 49ers get the number 1 seed 51% of the time if they win this game, 2% if they lose.
Right.
The Eagles get the number 1 seed 91% of the time if they win this game, 40% if they lose. So basically, if the 49ers win, number 1 seed up for grabs. If the Eagles win, number 1 seed is the Eagles. Andrew Daly wants to know, if there are too many quarterbacks with similar arguments, can Christian McCaffrey win the MVP?
Here we go.
My answer is no, because if a non-quarterback is going to win the MVP, it's going to be Tyreek Hill.
The market,
because he's going to get 2,000 yards, and people will vote for him based on the 2,000 yards.
The market says McCaffrey plus 1,600, Tyreek at plus 4,500.
Really? That's interesting.
Really. And we talk about this a lot here. I wrote about it a couple weeks ago in Mailbag. I feel like the scenario for McCaffrey, now that the voting has changed and you all pick 5 people,
is for us to all pick McCaffrey second.
Yes. He gets all these 2s and 3s, and everybody's got their pet quarterback at the top of the list. And that's the really the most likely scenario because, again, folks are going to pick quarterback in general.
I think the argument about McCaffrey is that historically, when a quarterback doesn't win MVP, it has been running back.
Yes.
But that was 2008.
Yeah, we're going back to
15 years since then.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're looking at that ballot, and McCaffrey's had a nice season with a lot of touchdowns, but Tyreek Hill has broken Calvin Johnson's receiving record.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if you're going to vote for a non-quarterback, it's going to be Tyreek Hill.
The other side of that is I can see McCaffrey just rolling for the rest of the season and coming away with 20 whatever touchdowns, possibly with a win like this under the belt, while the Dolphins just kind of putter along a little bit with their not as spectacular offense over the next couple of weeks, and Tyreek falls a little short. That's another possibility.
Let's start breaking down the matchups. This is not a good matchup for Christian McCaffrey.
Okay.
The Eagles' defense has not been as good against the run in the last couple of weeks, but they're still 4th against the run for a season, and they're 5th against running backs as receivers.
Okay.
So it's not a good matchup for McCaffrey. The Eagles defense, the problem is the pass. The passing game is their problem. The 49ers defense is the opposite. The 49ers defense, the problem is stopping the run. It's DeAndre Swift time.
It's DeAndre Swift time. And might be able to get some deep passes. I got one prop up here for you. A.J. Brown and Brandon Ayuk to combine for 2+ touchdowns of any kind, plus 275.
That's a fun one it's a fun one to play. Like if you're talking about not betting for positive value, but betting for fun, that's a fun,
right.
That is a fun one to play as a non-49ers or Eagles fan.
Right. Right. I feel like plus 400 might feel a little bit better. And one of the concerns is, I'm sure you've got it all chambered up. The Eagles defense passes over the middle, passes to slot and number 3 guys, etc. That's your Deebo Samuel territory, and he's the guy who's probably going to step up.
The Eagles also 32nd against tight ends. Still. But with not as many targets as you would think.
Right.
And Bayard did slow down Travis Kelce.
Right.
So now you've got Bayard on George Kittle. So that's interesting to watch.
Yes. Yeah.
The Eagles are the worst defense in the league on 3rd and 4th downs.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it broken down by short yardage, short, deep?
I don't have that in front of me by yardage amount.
Okay.
Hold on a second, and I can open that up.
Right, that is surprising.
You're listening to us make the sausage because I'm going to open up spreadsheets. So Philadelphia defense by 28th against 3rd and short, 22nd against 3rd and medium, and 28th against 3rd and long.
Wow. Yeah, we've seen them have a hard time get off the field lately, but not get off the field so badly that they look like the Cardinals or something in that scenario.
Useful title points out the Eagles also only have like 2 healthy linebackers right now as well.
Yes, facing a team that's going to stress the middle of the field.
Yes,
they just called a kid up who I've never heard of.
The Eagles' offense is better when the opponent is in nickel.
Okay.
49ers are the same whether they're in base or nickel. And this one will not surprise you. The Eagles' defense gets worse the more defensive backs they have on the field.
Yes, not a surprise. And also a problem when you only have 2 healthy linebackers because there's only so many ways you can jiggle the personnel.
2 other matchups that I grabbed some stats for.
Okay.
The 49ers are the best defense in yards after the catch allowed. And the Eagles are the 3rd best defense in yards after the catch allowed.
Interesting.
Which is important when you're playing the 49ers.
Yeah, that's a good matchup for the 49ers. The Eagles do just try to force the ball deep a little bit more. So,
and what's interesting is which team is the 2nd worst in yak allowed? The Browns.
Huh.
It's like the one weakness of the Browns defense this year is they allow a ton of yak.
Interesting. I'd have to go.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that is weird as heck. Yes.
We'll get to the Browns in a second. The other, just point out, the Eagles have a special teams advantage.
Yes.
Mostly on punt returns and field goals.
Uh-huh.
The Eagles are number 1 in special teams right now.
Mm-hmm.
Although they're like the lowest number 1 in special teams ever.
Okay.
And Andrew Daly says it's a big week for luck rankings as multiple sites have the Eagles as the first or second luckiest team. Well, like that thing that Tom Bliss puts out from the NFL office based on things like dropped passes and field goals against you and stuff, have the Eagles as like the first or second. I think they have the Eagles as like the second or third luckiest team. I think Green Bay comes out as the luckiest team.
Wow. That's just very random that Green Bay's up there. But okay, Eagles had a couple of missed field goals last week, certainly. So.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the thing about the Eagles and what the stats, all the advanced stats, right? They're ninth. It's basically tied for 8th in DVOA. They're 7th in ESPN's FPI.
Right.
Is I think that the basic idea is that they're a good team that has the record of a great team.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of people being like, don't compare the Eagles to last year's Vikings. I haven't seen anybody actually compare the Eagles to last year's Vikings. I've only seen people say to not do it.
Straw man.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say to not do it. Don't do it.
Right. And that's it. Like, I think even here in Philadelphia, we realize this is like an 8-3 team.
Yeah.
That happens to be,
which is still 8-3 would be one of the top teams in the league, right? Like, yeah. So the line is 49ers -2.5. And it was funny because they asked Kyle Shanahan, why are the 49ers favored on the road against a 10-1 team? And he said, beats me. And the answer is advanced stats, but I can't tell you that.
What do you mean?
Kyle Shanahan's not going to say, well, Vegas is looking at EPA numbers and DVOA and their PFF or whatever, and they like the 49ers better. They're not going to say that. Kyle Shanahan's not going to say that.
Oh, no.
I'm going to go with my numbers. I'm going to say 49ers -2.5.
And I'm going to agree with you because the numbers are screaming at us that that's what this matchup is. And the line is screaming at us and everything you've got there is screaming at us. And if you look at the full strength 49ers right now, which is what they are, they look like the best team in the NFL when they're healthy. So we're going to go with that. One little prop here. A reminder that the Niners are number 1 in first half offensive DVOA. Eagles, as you might know, start slowly. They're 19th in first half offensive defense DVOA. So if you don't want to worry about some sort of Eagles magic in the second half, or if you're a Philly fan and wants to vote with good conscience, you can take the 49ers -2.5 in the first half and assume that they're going to take a lead. And one other thing is the Niners are a hell of a team to try to come back on. This is not like the mistake pro. They're going to unleash all kind of pass rush on you. They're going to run the ball on their end of things. And that's going to be one more trouble spot for the Eagles.
All right. One other 4:00 game to talk about briefly, and that is the 7-4 Browns at the 5-6 Rams. Mm-hmm. Browns make the playoffs 85% of the time with a win, 64% with a loss. Mm-hmm. Rams 34% with a win, 12% with a loss. This is another game with a major special teams advantage. The Rams are the worst special teams in the league. They've been horrendous on kickoffs and field goals this year. Mm-hmm. And there's some interesting blitz stats. Okay. Stafford, the Rams when Stafford is quarterback. Mm-hmm. Oh, Andrew Daly wants to remind everyone that your Chiefs-Eagles first half over hit while the full game didn't. So that was a good tip last week.
Telling you.
All right. The Rams with Stafford, 6.9 yards per play, 32% DVOA without a blitz.
Okay.
5.5 and -7% with a blitz.
So he's picking you apart when you're not blitzing.
So you want to blitz Stafford. Browns defense, 5.5 yards without a blitz. 3.8 yards with a blitz.
Okay.
So the Browns want to blitz.
Okay.
You want to blitz Stafford, and the Browns are better blitzing. This is a good game to blitz Stafford.
We also have to keep an eye on the injury report for Myles Garrett.
Yes. Wasn't his arm in a sling after the game last week?
The double talk coming out of Cleveland on this is high. If you look at the injury report, it said, did not practice, non-health related, shoulder. They did the same thing with Amari.
Is that what happens when your shoulder just starts talking? You go, I don't want to play this week. But it's not health related.
When they asked if there was no structural damage, I think the coach said something like, well, there's no major structural damage. No. It's like, wait, you added a word there. It's like an interrogation.
Minor structural damage.
What I think we're going to see is a one-armed Myles Garrett on the field. And that's a big deal in this.
Here's a prop. The Rams are 29th against tight ends.
Oh,
So I like an over for David Njoku, or as I now call him, Wax Beans. Watch David Njoku sometime. The specific color of his blonde braids
okay.
looks exactly like wax beans.
Interesting.
So David Njoku is now wax beans to me.
Well, Wax Beans is on the not injury-related knee list, so keep an eye on that as well. Again, there's a lot of double talk coming out of Cleveland right now. Not kidding. He's on the list verbatim.
So I feel like the line is Browns minus 3.5.
Yeah.
I think. Sorry, it's the other way around. It's Rams minus 3.5.
We don't know who's quarterbacking the Browns.
Joe Flacco. Well, Joe Flacco is going to quarterback the Browns.
Joe Flacco, first ballot South Jersey Sports Hall of Famer.
I would say if Garrett plays, Browns plus 3.5. If Garrett does not play, Rams.
Perfect. I'm not going to worry about the quarterback situation. Go with the Garrett prop. Perfect.
The last game is the night game. The 8-3 Chiefs here's another playoff possibility, 5-6 team. The Green Bay Packers. 8 p.m. Chiefs are essentially in. Packers, 74% of the time they make it. If they win, 49% if they lose, because after this game, the Packers' schedule gets very easy. Hold on, and I will give you the Packers' schedule after this game because it is very easy. After this game, at Giants, Buccaneers, at Panthers, at Vikings, Bears.
Wow. This is what you said at the beginning of the year, though. When you had the Packers as a playoff team, it was like...
I had the Packers as a playoff team in the preseason projections, yes.
And this is why. It's like, well, this schedule is very doable, and if this young team comes together to X level, they're going to do it. And they're starting to come together to X-1 level, I suppose, or getting there.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, Love has been playing pretty well. He's like 13th in DVOA or something.
Right, and I looked it up. He leads the league in 20-plus yard passing attempts. No one in the NFL throws more 20-plus yard passes than him. And I'm just going to grab it real quick here. He is 17 of 49 on – remember, these are very deep passes. 17 of 49, 625 yards, 2 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. 4 interceptions is not that unusual when you're firing it downfield. And they're getting a lot of mileage out of that deep passing. He's not as consistent on short passes. But
Chiefs defense allows more yardage per game to the number 2 receivers than the number 1 receivers. So maybe it's a Romeo Doubs game.
Is he the – I guess he's the number 2 officially.
He's the 2. Here's another blitz stat. Packers, offense, 6.8 yards, 30% DVOA without a blitz.
Okay.
5.4 minus 3% with a blitz.
Wait, the Packers blitzing?
This is Packers offense.
Oh, okay. So
Packers offense is better without a blitz. Chiefs defense is better with a blitz.
Well, yeah.
Chiefs defense goes from minus 7% DVOA without a blitz to minus 34% with a blitz. So again, this is another game you want to blitz the young quarterback. Blitz Love.
Yes. Blitz him. See if he's going to spray the ball deep for you.
And a weird stat shows that you never know quite what these things mean. The Chiefs have better base defense than nickel, but they also play a lot of dime, and they're awesome in dime. 4 yards allowed per play in dime. So why would they be better in dime than nickel, but better in base than nickel? That's probably random variation.
Random, who they faced, if they were doing a bunch of dime against the Raiders, I don't know.
Line on this game is Chiefs minus 6 on the road in Green Bay.
Guess what's in the forecast in Green Bay for Sunday?
It's rain, I believe.
I saw snow showers. Maybe it was my my Santa beard.
So do the snow showers make you want to go with Packers plus 6 with the idea that snow equals closer game and more randomness?
100%. That's what I'm thinking. Yes.
Yeah. I saw it as like 36 degrees and rain, but then that can be freezing rain, and freezing rain gets slippery, and then you really have a lot of randomness.
Right. So that's why I was thinking somewhere between just taking the points or even a backdoor. I don't believe a backdoor cover, but if it's,
I will say as the person driving the Baltimore Ravens bandwagon who also had Green Bay making the playoffs before the season, I'm all in favor of a weather-related upset in this game.
Right. Right. Go snow. Go Dasher, go Dancer, because I think otherwise, if you wake up, it's like, oh, it's going to be clear. Just take lay the points. Take the chips.
All right. That does it for our Thursday week 13 preview. Thank you so much to everybody watching. Don't forget to tell your friends about the show. Don't forget to rate the show, review the show, help us spread word about the show. We will be back Monday morning at 11 a.m. to wrap up this whole thing, talk plenty about the 49ers and Eagles, and preview the Bengals and the Jaguars.
We're not doing that.
That's Monday night's game, Bengals and Jaguars.
We'll
do a little bit of preview of the Bengals and Jaguars, but mostly we'll talk about the Eagles and 49ers, I think. All right, that does it for this show. We will talk to you guys on Monday. Everyone have a great weekend. So long.